Morning, BookTube. Bill Ruttenberg here with the Ruttenberg Library. Come to you this morning in celebration. Got a little question answer, a little Q&A video that I want to do for you in celebration of hitting 500 subscribers and also 1 year on BookTube. And I put out a call for questions last week, and I said I would take all the questions up till midnight of Friday. So this morning I copy-pasted all those questions over, so you may have snuck one in on me after the deadline. That's okay. Anyway, I copied over those questions over to a Google Doc, and I've got that pulled up on my computer here, and I'm going to answer those questions for you. Before I do that, though, I definitely want to say thank you to all of the subscribers who've come to the channel, and all the new ones, all the old ones. People that have been here since the very beginning, and those that are just finding my channel. And so I wanted to thank you for that. It's been a wonderful experience over this last year. It's been very therapeutic for me, as I know many of your guys' videos and video watching has been for you over this last year. So anyway, like I said, I got everything ready to go. Got my table set up, my computer ready to go. Got my daughter's toys out from underneath my bookcases here. She likes to invade. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the calico critters, but she likes to invade with her calico critters, and she's got a lot of these little critters. She finds them to be quite fun, and she's got like a little house down here and a little ice cream shop, like a bus, I don't know. Then it's fun to watch her creative juices get to flowing and all the stories that come out of her. I don't know, maybe one day she'll be a writer and we'll be reading her books. Her imagination's pretty wild, but with that being said, she likes to expand her little lot where her stuff is, and I don't know if we would call that urbanization and spreading out. I don't know, but anyway, enough of that. Let's go ahead and get to the questions, because you guys did send me quite a few. I'm going to try to do this in one video, but there's no promises. It might have to be a take two, but we'll see. So and I'll do my best to answer these. So anyway, the first question comes from Steve Donahue, and he says, congratulations, and my questions are, number one, what are some of your essential ideas of Iowa? I mean, when you think of the place, what things come to mind? And, for me, I've been living in Iowa for about 15 years now. We moved up, I was actually from Missouri originally, before I met my wife, and we met at college, and she's from here, and we moved up here, like I said, 15 years ago. And I guess my thoughts of Iowa have been, the first thing that pops to mind is cornfields. We got a lot of those. We got a lot of farms in the area. It's fun to get those kids in class and listen to them talk about their farms. But I think the thing that comes to mind first is just down home, good people. The vast majority of Iowans are good people. We like hard work. There's the work day starts when the sun comes up, and for a lot of people it doesn't end until the sun goes down, and I greatly appreciate the hard work ethic that comes out of Iowa. Great food comes out of Iowa. It's hearty. It's nothing fancy. I mean, it's not something you're gonna see at a French restaurant. It's not the high cuisines, but it tastes very, very good. There's lots of it, and very filling. I have never left let's just say a church potluck dinner. I have never left one hungry. I always get my fill, and anytime I've ate at anybody's house here, it's been good food. So I also think of just kindness. The people here are kind. A lot of people that come here for the first time, they are amazed when you're driving down the road and you get the hand wave. I mean, everybody is friendly here. Everybody knows everybody, and if they don't know you, they want to know you. And so I really love that atmosphere. That really fits my my personality very, very well. And I will say that it took a little bit of time, like when I got into town, to really feel like I am from here, like I belong here. But it took a couple years for that. I think that's probably like that in any small town. But once I got that, I feel at home here. I can joke around with just about anybody. The kids that I teach, their parents know me, they trust me, and that just goes a long way, and it says a lot about the people of Iowa. So those are my first thoughts of Iowa. I hope that helps you, Steve, in answering that question. His second question was, do your students or your fellow teachers know about your channel? And yes, they do. My kids, they found it by accident. Well, not by accident. I guess a couple of them found it. Well, it would be by accident. The videos popped up and they were like, oh, that's Mr. Ruttenberg. But the vast majority of them figured it out last, or was it this year? This year or last year, I can't even remember. But they figured it out because I was going to show a YouTube documentary on, I don't remember what the subject was. It was something in class, like probably World War II or World War I, something like that. And I went to pull it up on YouTube, and of course, when you pull that up, my video was in the feed, and they were like, "Whoa, you got a channel?" And so, yeah, most of my kids realize I have a channel, and I don't know if any of them follow me. I know a couple of them have watched some of my videos, but I don't know if they regularly follow me, and that's okay. My fellow teachers know about it, and I've been open about it. I don't like go advertising saying, hey, subscribe to my channel, but I have talked about it, and especially with when the pandemic hit, having to video all my stuff for class, this was a great help for that. So I have shared that with teachers. It's practice makes perfect. Don't get all nervous about it. Sometimes it does take a few takes, but once you get good at the video making, or maybe not good, but comfortable at the video making, it goes a lot easier. And so a lot of them know about my channel, and I know one of them, his daughter's in my class, and she's shared the video with him, and he's always trying to promote my channel for me. But question number 3 from Steve Donahue is, as a history teacher, how on earth would you teach kids about the events of the last month? And Steve, that is an excellent question, and it can be kind of a difficult one to answer. As events have come up, I have had to. What I've tried to do is really try to stick to the Constitution. I think I shared this in an earlier video. Like, what are the constitutional rights of people? What can they do? What can't they do? What should they do? What should not? What should they not do? And I've kind of tried to stick to that, because I know we've had emails from the state saying that when you talk about stuff, you better stay even keeled on it, and you better not go one way or the other. And we've gotten messages from our administration about that, and I have stayed pretty neutral. And I know other teachers out in the United States who have not. They have been very vocal, and I have tried to stay neutral because I want my kids to be open to all kinds of opinions. Not that I want them to go extreme one way or the other, but I want them to be open to listening. And I think that's the biggest thing that we need to get out of the events is we don't have to do things through violence. And I have preached and preached and preached that it does not have to be violent. Get the violent acts out. We can have we can agree to disagree, have different opinions, but make sure that we take the violence out. That is not teaching anybody anything that, it's not good. It's not good. And you cannot get any compromise, any promising, any prospects out of violence. And so that is kind of how I've been attacking it, that, people have the right to give their opinion, but there's ways of doing that. So anyway, hope that answers your question, Steve. Thank you very much. You've been a huge supporter of the channel, and I greatly, greatly appreciate your support and the friendship we've been able to build through, videos, joking back and forth, the emails. I just love it. You are one of the reasons I love BookTube. So let's move to the next one. And the next one comes from Hannah at Hannah's Books, and she says, congratulations. And she says, I would love to hear about a book you really love, either a book you've read recently or something you read long ago that is different from your more typical type of read. A favorite novel that has stuck with you for decades, perhaps. Okay, so those that follow the channel on a regular basis, you know that I read nonfiction. That is probably at least 75% of what I read, and in normal years it was even higher than that, the percentage-wise. I have read, since on BookTube, I've read a little bit more fiction than what I normally would, because I listen to you guys and you just get my interests going. So I think what she means by my typical read is my nonfiction. So I'm going to pick something outside of the American history genre. I think that's where she's going with that. And a couple of books that I have read that have had a powerful impact on me. One set of books was when I first started teaching, and then another one was one that I read towards the beginning of this last year. And when I first started teaching, and I'm trying to remember the guy's name, it was Dave something. It was A Child Called It by Dave Pelzer. Is that right? I think Pelzer. But anyway, it was about a child abuse story in California and how this child went through just an astronomical amount of abuse by his parents, or his mother, I believe, was the primary one, but I think both of them did. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I read it, but it had a huge impact on me. It's actually a 3-book series: Child Called It, Lost Boy, and forgive me, I can't remember the third one right at the moment. But I read those, and they just they hit home for me, because I come from a background nothing like what he went through, but just a troubled background of struggles, and went through the foster care system and ended up getting adopted. And so his series really touched me, and it let me know that when I got into teaching, I did it for the right reasons, to help kids that are in similar situations like that, similar situations to what I was in. And if you've never read that series of books, they're real short, but I believe it was Dave Pelzer, A Child Called It, and they will probably make you upset. So you got to be in the right frame of mind to be able to handle the situations that he's going to talk about, the abuse and stuff. But that was one. And then recently I read Jeanette Walls's book, A Glass Castle. And I actually watched that movie with my daughter yesterday. She's reading the book. She's at the very, very end of the book, and she got it from the movie from the library. So we watched that yesterday afternoon. And that book's about Jeanette Walls's life when she was younger, and she wasn't necessarily abused, but neglect would probably be more her story, and what she went through as a kid, and how she was able to really get over those obstacles and overcome those. And she had to really come to grips with herself and her family and just everything she went through in order to, I would say, survive. They had a famous quote in there that her dad was always philosophizing. He could talk, but he didn't do a lot to help her as far as get ahead in life. But he had this in his writings. Jeanette and her sisters found this. It's hard, and this is what he wrote: it's hard to breathe when you're drowning in poop. And that was really the story, not only for her dad and what he went through, but what her life was like. And again, she's able to survive, though, and that was something that really touched me. And I feel that I've gotten out of my childhood and everything that I went through with when I was younger, and then through foster homes and stuff. And I always call mine the search for love, proper love. And so it's a story of survival, and so I really connected with that story. Both of those stories. So go check those out if you haven't read those. Those are high recommendations. So thank you, Hannah, and I've been following Hannah's channel for a while now, and she puts out great videos and very calm. I love listening to Hannah when she talks. She's very calm. So go check her channel out. All right, so the next question comes from Lisa Garrity, and she says, "Congratulations. Thank you for bringing your voice to YouTube." And thank you, Lisa. I appreciate it. It's been a fun journey, and thank you for coming along on the journey with me. And her first question is, what area of history do you feel has had too little attention? And I think, in my opinion, one of the areas, or a couple of the areas that have had too little attention is probably the story of African Americans in the United States. I think it's a story that needs to continue to be told and retold and continue to evolve. And I would really like to read more up on the early times and then just how it has evolved. And it's the same thing with Native Americans. I think that their voices have not been heard maybe as well as they should have, or not maybe, but they haven't been heard as well as they should have. And I would also throw in the story of women in United States history. I just was covering both of these, all three of these really, in class with my 8th graders. We were talking about the Declaration of Independence and groups that it did not include. And, all three of these, especially African Americans and women, did not get included in this, in the Declaration. And so I feel that those groups need to be covered. They have just as much a story as anybody else. I mean, we were doing percentages, and of course women are going to be about half the population of the United States at any time in our history. It's going to be about half. And so why would you not have more books on women? And I know part of it is sources for women in early history is rough, just because there's not a lot of records. There's not as many records as there were for men because of the society that they lived in. And so that is a little bit rough to write a history book when there's not a lot of sources. And it's the same way for African Americans early on. There's just not a lot of sourcing. The records are kind of scarce. And so that is rough, but I would really like to see that hit more in our history. So question number 2 was, are there areas that are overcovered? Obviously, there's going to be people that say, they've overcovered the American Revolution, they've overcovered the Civil War, they've overcovered George Washington, Abraham Lincoln. I don't think we can cover it enough, because our society is constantly changing, with constantly getting a new perspective on things. So I don't know if things get overcovered. They get covered a lot, but I don't know if we can overcover any subject. Like I said, there are some that are undercovered that I would really like for historians to really get involved in, but I don't know about overcovered. So that's kind of my opinion on that. So thank you, Lisa, for your questions. The next one's from Sharon G. She says, "I love your channel and your book recommendations. When I discovered BookTube several months ago, I thought it was all about middle grade, YA fantasy, and rom-com books. Then I came upon your channel and a few others and realized there was so much more to BookTube. Thank you for sharing your life and your books." No problem, Sharon. I appreciate your, I guess it's not a question, a comment, but I do appreciate that. And, to talk at that point, even though it's not a question, I would like to hit that point. Last year, a little over a year ago, be December 2019 is when I discovered BookTube. And it meant the world to me, because there's people out there actually making videos about books, and I love to read. And so as I got to exploring things, I agree, some of the stuff that popped up first and was really the heaviest videos, as far as the amount of videos, was middle grade and YA, especially YA fantasy. And I started to follow a couple of those, and just because I was like, cool, people are talking about books. And I very quickly, as I got to going through videos, and I started actually taking my my searches and doing nonfiction books or American history books, stuff like that. That's when I discovered other people on BookTube that have, similarities to me. And I was so happy to see, you know, like, and I've mentioned this before, but like Steve Donahue, of course, he does Across the Spectrum with his books, but he does history books. Peg at the History Shelf, Mark Richardson, Sean D. Standfast, Jason Harrigan, all of these guys, Todd at the Bursting Bookshelf, they all do. These were my original people I started following, and I absolutely love their channels, and I still love their channels. I try to watch all their videos. I can't quite keep up with Steve's because he puts out a lot of videos, but I try to keep up with everybody as best as I can, because, you know, it was just neat to listen to, not only talking about history books, but the sharing of our lives with each other. That has been really neat. I feel like I have, you know, friends out there, even though we've never met face to face, but through the comments and emails and all that, I feel like I have, you know, friends out there in the world. And it's really been neat with my students at school, because they're, you know, they do online gaming and all that, and they're, yeah, I was talking to my friend in China or Australia or, you know, clear across the world, and I was like, how can you really be that good of friends? And then I had to second guess myself, because I got onto BookTube and started figuring out, yeah, I guess you can. So anyway, thank you for your comment, Sharon. I appreciate you following the channel. The next question comes from Tanya at the Sampler. Is it the Sampler book? I think it might be the Sampler book. I'm not sure that, Sampler Girl. Maybe that was it. I don't think I put the full title. I'm sorry, Tanya. Anyway, she says, yay on 500. So glad you started your channel. Thank you, Tanya. Her question is, if you could meet a famous historical person, dead or alive, who would it be? Oh my goodness. Are you limiting it to one? Because I've got a whole list of people that I would love to go meet, shake hands with. A lot of them that have become my personal heroes for one reason or another. Abraham Lincoln, holy moly. You guys know I'm almost 100 books on Lincoln. I love learning about Lincoln, and what I would not do to go put my hand out and have his bony, ginormous hand engulf mine and give me a good shake, and to listen to his high-pitched not whiny, but his high-pitched voice that everybody always talks about, and to listen to his folksy humor and sometimes off-color humor, you know, to listen to his stories. What I would not give to listen to that, or to go meet George Washington, even though he might not say much to me with his stony look, and you know, he was a big guy. That would be an engulfing experience for me also. But just to meet him and to see if I could possibly pick his brain. To meet Ben Franklin. Oh my gosh, that would be so awesome to go sit in a salon with him and sit back and sip some tea or whatever, and just listen to the stories that he's got, his inquisitive mind, his I call him a Renaissance man when I talk to the kids at school, because he just had his hands in so many different areas of study. Moving into more recent times, what I wouldn't do to sit down with Frederick Douglass and listen to him tell his story about his struggle here in America to get out of slavery, to outsmart people, and to you know, basically almost like spit in the face of those slave catchers and stuff, and just to watch to listen to him talk about his journey. What I would not give to be able to do that, or to hear Teddy Roosevelt, to sit down with him and listen to him tell his whoppers about like the charge on San Juan Hill, or to listen to him talk about going down to the Panama Canal, or his love of hunting. Even though I'm not a hunter, I would love to listen to him talk about his love of hunting and the national park system that he helped to really, you know, get going. Moving into the recent times, even more, what I wouldn't give to listen to the great Martin Luther King Jr. talk to, just talk of his faith, and how he saw that, you know, I have a dream, that dream of what America can be and what it will be, what I truly feel that we are going to continue to strive to be. What I would not give. And moving into even the more current day, to sit down with current presidents, I was thinking of former President Carter, and just all of the stuff that he has done after his presidency, to that just love of public, of trying to help the public and to give. What a word, to give, not to take, but to give. It would just be awesome to sit down with Barack Obama and talk about, what it was like to break the barriers that he was breaking. And, and the great thing about some of this is it doesn't matter what side, if you're talking presidential, what side of the political spectrum you're on, just to sit down and have these conversations about the obstacles that they faced and how they were planning on overcoming them, and to definitely hear the backdoor or backstage stories that you might not see in a history book, but they might tell you over a cup of coffee or something. Oh, I know that was a really long answer with a lot of people, but those are just some of them that I wouldn't mind listening to. I think it would be absolutely just wonderful, and I could keep talking about different people I would love to meet in history. I'm going to move on though. Thank you, Tanya. I appreciate you and your channel, and you and your husband have been wonderful to get to know over the comment section and stuff. So thank you for following. Carrie at Very Literary Carrie, she says, "Congrats, Bill." And her first question is, what is your favorite class activity, discussion, or project? That is a hard one. How about I go with favorite class, first of all? And it's not that I don't like my other classes. I don't want you to think that. But my favorite one's my 8th grade American history. And that shows in my channel. I love early America and reading about from colonial times to that revolution, and then that development towards, tearing the nation apart and putting it back together with the Civil War and Abe Lincoln. That is my favorite class. But if you want to break it down into class activity, I love, or maybe I should leave this one for project. Let's go backwards. Favorite project is my History Day project. My kids get to go choose their own research project, and it is so much fun to watch them develop as learners, to watch them learn, ask questions, come up with their own ideas, and then get me involved because they're always bringing up stuff I have not learned before. I learn from them, and it's absolutely wonderful. So our favorite discussion that I have, I always love my discussion on, my description of George Washington usually is entertaining for the kids. They like listening to that, and I love the play off of one another on that. I absolutely love our discussion we have on Abraham Lincoln in the antebellum period and how that all develops. It's probably my favorite discussions in class. And then my favorite class activity is probably, really, we've been moving towards these DBQs that we've been doing, document-based questions, where we get a series of documents, we get a big historical question, and I get to watch the kids dig through the primary sources and secondary sources and come up with ideas for themselves, to see them interpret stuff and to kind of help them interpret stuff, giving them, well, this word actually means this, so how does that apply to that? And, I like that. And they love it. They have really grasped that because they get to become the historian themselves, and they love that feeling of ownership. So I hope that answers your question on that. And then question number 2, this is one I always ask, but do you listen to music or go with silence when you're reading? If you listen to music while reading, what kind? So this will be an easy one for me, Carrie. I do not listen to music while I'm reading. I can't concentrate. I love the quiet. It's just the best way for me to get my mind focused. If it's not quiet, I can't focus. And so, yeah, that's my answer to that. So moving to the next one, comes from John Smith. My question to you is this: how was your 2020? Wow, 2020. So my goal for 2021 has been to try to stop talking negative about 2020. It's been rough. I will admit 2020 was, it rocked my world just like everybody else. 2020, as far as when March hit, about halfway through March, we were getting ready to do our History Day projects. We were going to go to the district competition, compete, and the winners were going to head on to the state competition. Excuse me, I was super excited about that, and yeah, it didn't happen. We were supposed to go on Wednesday. School got called off Sunday night, Monday morning, I can't remember. I think it was Sunday night, right before the competition. And that frustrated me because we had just spent over a month and a half, almost 2 months working on projects. And the kids' hard-earned, their research and everything kind of went down the drain. Now, we could have went online, virtual with it. The only problem is we were not allowed in the school. Nobody was allowed to go to the school. All their projects were at school. And so I talked it through it with the state coordinator, and she's like, well, we got the virtual option and all this, and I'm like, do you realize what I'm going to have to, there's no way I could get it done to help the kids out. There's no way. There just wasn't enough time, and it needs to be student driven. Students needed to be doing it, and they couldn't get into the building to work on their projects. And so that was extremely frustrating for me. But on the lighter side, or on the flip side of that, at the same time, we had one of my students, his dad teaches down in Missouri, and he does social studies down there. And he knows all about the History Day projects. And that young man went ahead and did his project because his dad was helping him at home. He had his at home. They had been building it and stuff. And that young man not only won at districts, he won at our state level and moved on to nationals. And he was my very first project to move on to the national level, and that was absolutely awesome. I was so tickled with that. And he also won a special award at the state level and for his project, and it was awesome. He did it on I got to think of it. Oh no, I'm going blank. It was on it was on a law done by by Tom Harkin. Oh my goodness. The American Disabilities Act. Oh my goodness, I about went blank on that. The American Disabilities Act. And that was what his whole project was on, and the impact of why we needed it, what they had to go through to get that law created. And he was actually in contact with the senator and some of the other people that were involved in the lawmaking process, had interviews with them. Absolutely wonderful experience. And then how that affects us today. And that young man did a fabulous job. And like I said, he won a special award, won at state, moved on to nationals. So how was my 2020? It was a little bit of both. We had to cancel school. We couldn't be in school anymore. So that stunk. And so we lost a part of the school year. We did some of it remote, but it just is not the same as being face-to-face. And of course, we had to start off this school year with, some of our kids are remote. And I just truly wish we were all face-to-face if possible. And so for me personally, it really affected me in my job and being able to connect with kids. That was rough, but there were awesome things. We also had a birth in our family, and so adding to the family, and we got to see that young man at Christmas, and that was an absolutely wonderful experience. But so how was my 2020? There were obvious negatives that everybody's been facing: having to wear masks, having to stay socially distanced, having to be cooped up in our houses. We had that, but at the same time, we had some positives as well. So, John, I hope that answers your question. Thank you for your question. So we are at about a little over the 34-minute mark at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up, and I'm just going to do this in multiple parts. And I thank everybody for their questions. I hope everyone's having a great day. Thank you for watching. I hope I'm not talking your ear off. So everybody have a great day and happy reading.